The shopping bags fell, and the protagonist is astonished, unable to believe what he is seeing. A giant monster that looks like a snake is in front of him. Its claws easily crushed a building, leaving our boy terrified. Then the monster stares at him, lets out a scream, and starts running. However, he bumps into someone. A mysterious silhouette stands before him. While the prota stares without reacting, he says he's a dragon. Then our boy immediately wakes up, gets up, and wonders if that was just a dream. After that, he thinks it's very cold, so he adjusts the temperature and walks toward the pot. Looking at it, he realizes it's practically empty. Then he notices the rice bag is empty too, so he gets frustrated, throws a trash bag aside, and heads to the bathroom. He turns on the faucet and starts brushing his teeth, thinking he needs to eat something later. Outside, the prota climbs the stairs and notices something, a stray dog eating trash. He looks at the scene, disgusted, and then throws the trash away. After staring at the dog again, he heads towards the convenience store. Once there, he spots dog food and realizes it's quite expensive. The scene cuts, and he is offering something to the dog. The stray takes it, and he places his hand on its head, calling it a good boy and telling it not to eat trash again. Then he heads to school. On the way, he notices it's quite noisy, so he grabs his headphones and puts them on. Looking at his phone, he sees automatic messages from his carrier congratulating him on his birthday. He ignores them and heads to school. Upon arriving, he notices some students taking personality tests, and some girls are talking about tarot readings, saying they're pretty expensive, around 10,000 won. Our boy thinks that making that much money in just one session explains why these quacks keep scamming people. He thinks they're idiots because if this were true, people born on the same day wouldn't have the same personality. If they thought about it even a little, they'd see how strange it is. He hears a girl celebrating that she's an ENTP, and the prota just thinks he has a lot to say, but it's better to keep it to himself. Then he gets a slap on the back and someone says, "Happy birthday." Our boy asks what the hell that was, and the nerd starts throwing a bunch of packages on the table saying they're birthday buns. The prota says it's a bit much, but as he bows like a butler, the nerd says that there is his birthday present and adds that he didn't know what flavor he liked, so he prepared a variety. The prota asks if that's serious and if he's really giving him birthday buns. The nerd asks why not and says it's a congratulations with a bun for a bun, and claims he has no sense of humor. Our boy then distributes them, telling everyone to take one while thinking that the breakfast problem is solved and asking if there's something to drink. The nerd replies, "Of course," and places an apple juice on the table. Then the prota asks if he spent all his money on buns. One of them comments that they should eat pork ribs after class, and the other replies that maybe the prota planned a family dinner or something. Our boy stays silent for a moment and asks who goes out for a family dinner to celebrate a birthday these days. Then a chubby guy arrives wishing Youngjin a happy birthday and telling Young to be careful because he had a dream where his teeth were breaking, which means someone around him will get hurt. Our boy asks if he was grinding his teeth while sleeping, but the chubby guy says he's serious and that his dreams usually come true. They start joking, betting on whether they'll get hurt or not. Then the nerd bets that Young will get hurt and punches him, and another bets too and elbows him. The prota runs away and another nerd shows up with a broom, betting he won't get hurt, and they stay there fighting among themselves. The prota leaves the room thinking they have too much money and calling them a bunch of filthy bourgeois. He bumps into someone and cards fall to the ground. He apologizes and decides to help her. She says it's okay since she wasn't looking ahead. Young wonders what the hell that was and hands her the deck saying he picked up everything that scattered. She grabs our boy's hand and he finds it strange, asking what she's doing. She seems to be staring off into space and he finds it odd, not understanding what's happening. She breaks the silence and says it's his birthday today. Young, a bit confused, confirms. Then she picks up the deck, says she'll read his fortune, and tells him to pick a card. The prota sneers and says he doesn't want to. She insists, telling him not to be lame and just pick one, but he thanks her and says he's not a big fan of that stuff. Then the nerd shows up, saying he found him and telling him to stay still so he doesn't get hurt, but quickly apologizes, saying he'll get hurt. Our boy quickly takes off and the nerd chases after him. The girl looks at the ground and notices there was one card left. She crouches to pick it up and sees it was a card called Death. Her friends shout for her, calling her Huisu. She turns around and leaves with them. Time passes and he returns to the classroom. Our boy was bored and dozed off during class. However, he wakes up to the teacher's scream and asks his friend what page they were on. The teacher scolds them, saying they're still in the first semester and can't stay focused. Young notices something. There was a silhouette at the window. He gets scared and wonders what that is. The teacher asks his name, saying he's been staring at the hallway all morning and asking if he wants the window open or something. Young says no and mentions there was someone outside, but when he looks, there's no one. While the prota thinks maybe he saw wrong, the students start commenting about the person next to Young. Look at this psycho, the dude's knocked out. After class, Young opens the door and leaves the room. Then he starts looking around but finds no one in the hallway. Suddenly, something slaps him on the back and says, "Happy birthday." Our boy asks what his problem is and the bully says, "It's me, you little shit." Young gets scared and realizes it's Sihu. The bully tells him to fix his hair because he doesn't want to pretend he knows him. Young scowls and thinks he can just pretend not to know him, calling him a little shit in his thoughts. Sihu notices and asks what's up with that face, saying that by his expression it seems like he called him a little shit in his head. Miserable Sherlock Holmes, huh? He starts intimidating him, calling him trash. Then our boy's arm is grabbed. A girl hugs his arm and asks the bully who he is and what he's doing with her boyfriend, leaving Young and Sihu surprised. The bully asks Huisu if Young is really her boyfriend and if this is some kind of punishment. She replies no, it isn't. Our boy remembers she's the girl from earlier. Sihu asks if it's serious and says it's ridiculous. Huisu responds that the only ridiculous thing is his face. Damn, this girl is a Chad. The bully gets irritated and calls her a little shit, then laughs, saying there's nothing he can do against a girl. After that, he puts his hand on Young's shoulder, sarcastically apologizing and saying, Young now has a girlfriend. Huh? He says it's great for him because Lee Huisu is rich and adds that Young is a poor orphan, calling him an idiot and laughing as he leaves. Huisu then asks if he's okay and what Sihu said to him. Young pulls away from her arms, asking what she's doing and saying he doesn't even know her. So how could she be his girlfriend? And what if rumors spread? Then Huisu, all Chad, steps in and says she actually wishes there were rumors and asks Young if he wants to go out with her. Our suspicious boy asks if this is some kind of punishment or something. Yeah, folks, we ugly ones gotta be wary of everything. She says no, that she really likes him. He apologizes and says he'll have to refuse. Our protagonist is such a Sigma, there's no way around it. He walks away and Huisu gives a strange look. After that, she starts following him, in the classroom, when he leaves the bathroom, in the cafeteria, and even leaves presents for him. The nerd tells him to come clean and asks our boy if he's dating Huisu. He says no, but then someone interrupts, calling out to Young, saying his girlfriend is there. Huisu smiles and says his name, while the protagonist wonders why this is all happening so suddenly. In the hallway, she keeps following him, calling his name over and over, until he turns around and tells her to stop before he gets angry. Huisu asks what's wrong and tells him to relax. Young says no, that he told her to stop, thinking she's completely nuts. But hey, the crazy ones are the best ones. Huisu asks if he hates her, apologizes, and says she'll try harder. Our boy says there's nothing to try harder for since they don't even know each other. She, emotional, says she loves him. The protagonist is stunned, and then she says she'll do things her way. He says he wants to break up with her, and that from now on, they're strangers. He leaves and she puts her hand on her face. Some time passes and he's heading home talking to his friends on the phone. One asks if he's enjoying life, another asks why he kept it a secret, and one of them says he should just admit it. It'd be cool to hang out with her friends too. Look at this guy. Totally trying to hit on Huisu's friends, huh? Young gets irritated with the teasing and starts typing a reply saying it's not true, but remembers it won't make a difference, so he just gives up. Then he notices something. The dog he found that morning is still there. He stares at it, surprised that it's still around, then just walks past it toward his house. As he looks outside, he notices the cloudy sky and heads inside. Once home, he starts changing clothes, looking depressed with a lonely expression on his face. Raindrops begin to fall, and when he looks outside, he sees the rain intensifying. The scene cuts to him drying the dog, which then shakes itself off, getting Young wet. The dog runs off and jumps onto the bed. Young asks if this is the dog's home now and smiles, seeing it so comfortable. He puts some food in a bowl and says that seeing the dog like this makes him think its owner forgot about it, abandoned it, or maybe it never had an owner. The dog walks toward Young, climbs into his lap, and seeing the dog being so gentle makes Young feel a little less lonely. The dog places one paw on his chest, then the other, and starts scratching him. Young doesn't understand what's happening and asks what's wrong. He stands up, saying today has been full of surprises, and the dog is one of them. Man, I think I see something in that window over there. Suddenly he feels something. Looking at the window, there's nothing there. Someone starts knocking on his door, making the dog bark. He tells the dog to be quiet and wonders who it could be at this hour. No one should be coming by. At the door, he looks through the peephole but sees nothing. The person says, Young, it's me, leaving him surprised. He asks who it is and the person replies, it's me. Again, he asks who it is and the person responds, it's me, Huisu. Our boy is shocked. He opens the door and sees Huisu drenched. He asks how she got there and she says it's the concept of a girlfriend coming back after being rejected by her boyfriend. He asks what the hell she's talking about, but then notices her soaked clothes. He closes the door, tells her to wait a minute, and opens it again, throwing a towel over her. He also hands her an umbrella, telling her to use it. What a gentleman, huh? No way around it. The scene cuts to a small umbrella. Huisu says they should share it because it's too cold. He throws his jacket over her and tells her to wear it. What a goat, seriously. The protagonist asks how she knew where he lived. She asks how she would know, saying she simply followed him. He's shocked and asks if she's crazy, leaving her speechless. He then asks why she followed him all the way to his house, why she's doing this to him, and tells her to stop acting strange and talk. He asks what she wants. Then he asks if she tells him, will he give it to her? He says he'll just listen. She responds that she wants him while giving him a psychotic look. Our boy is speechless and asks if she's serious, telling her to go home, wondering if he seems that easy to her. Man, the guy still wants to choose family. Young turns away and Huisu asks if he wants money. He turns back, irritated, and she says she'll pay him 100,000 won per hour to go out with her, about 400 bucks. He asks, 100,000 won? And tells her to stop with the lame jokes, asking how a student would have that kind of money. She says, "I have it," and shows her bank account with 11 million won. He wonders if she's serious and even remembers the bully saying she's rich. Our boy says she's totally nuts, that she's been watching too many movies, and questions if her parents know about this. Huisu says he still hasn't said no. The scene cuts to a phone receiving 100,000 won from Huisu. Our boy wonders if he's lost his mind. She's all happy, saying it's decided, while he wonders if he seems way too easy to her. But he thinks it's 100,000 won per hour. Then he imagines what his friends would think, that they'd ask if he sold his body for money. Yeah, folks, our protagonist is broke as hell. Young calls her and says they'll do this only until the bus arrives and that they'll pretend not to know each other at school. She asks why he cares if he's afraid of rumors and says he could do this without money, telling Young he has no peace and that this is a secret he's hiding from his friends. She holds out her hand, saying he has to treat her well. He looks at her, dumbfounded. Smiling, she asks what he's doing and says her hands are cold. Our boy pulls one hand out from under the umbrella, clenches his fist, and tells her to buzz off, saying he'll send the money back and that she went crazy for a second. He tells her to use the umbrella and that she can say whatever she wants at school. Huisu starts saying she hates girls, hates money, and that pretending is so expensive, concluding that he's a boy who will die soon. He, confused, asks what she means. She says he'll die today, then pulls a card from her pocket saying her tarot readings never lie and that he'll die today. He tells her to get a grip, but she suddenly screams that he's the one who needs to get a grip, saying it's so frustrating, all he has is that empty body, and yet he's so proud. Young wonders why she's acting like this, and she throws the card in his face, asking why he can't understand what she says. He gets irritated and says she's crazy, and Huisu, with a terrifying face, says he has a body that will die today and orders him to give it to her. She then grabs the protagonist's hand and pulls him. The umbrella falls to the ground, and Young is kneeling while she holds his arm. He asks what she's doing and feels his arm being squeezed in several places. He becomes terrified by the situation. Several hands were grabbing his arm. Then Huisu calls out and he raises his head to see her, only to be confronted with a horrifying figure. She then asks if her hands are cold. Young is completely stunned, unable to believe what is happening. Then she says it's because he didn't hold them fast enough. He begins to question what this is, if it's a mascot costume or special makeup. Then he notices something. Apparently it was Li Huisu. She then says she will ask one more time and asks if he can give her his body, commanding him to answer yes or no. Terrified, Young can't even speak, and the demon says she'll give him 3 seconds and starts counting. 1, 2, 3. Then she lunges at Young, who quickly starts running, beginning a relentless chase. Look at Huisu's little legs go. Our boy thinks, what kind of messed up dream is this? The demon then screams Young's name and throws a punch at him. However, she misses and hits the ground, but the impact sends him flying, and the demon catches him midair, laughing, saying she caught him. But the demon slips and ends up dropping the protagonist. He thinks, that hurt. That really hurt. Nonetheless, he doesn't waste time and gets up again. The demon begins recovering and is already after him again. He then concludes that this isn't a dream, and that if he gets caught, he'll be killed. He spots an alley and immediately runs into it. He's panting, completely exhausted. He looks to see if he's still being chased and thinks that this is a narrow alley and she probably won't be able to get through. Then he sits on the ground to rest. However, the demon asks if he really thought she couldn't get through. The protagonist then looks up and realizes she's there, completely terrified and in utter despair. She says that's disappointing because she's very thin. Young tries to get up again, but he can't because his legs won't move. The demon then places her hand on his face, saying, "Poor Young," and adds that it's such a filthy basement without a father or mother. He's hiding it from his friends because he's ashamed. She says he's so miserable and asks why he's still alive. Young then starts begging for someone to help him, but there was no one there. The only thing there was the sound of the rain. The demon then tells Young to see for himself, saying there's no one to help him and ordering him to just give up because he doesn't need to fight to live. He just needs to answer, and she'll let him live. However, he breaks free and starts running again. The demon becomes furious and asks why he's resisting. She said she wouldn't kill him and only wanted his body, promising to make things easier for him, just like Huisu. Nonetheless, Young keeps running, and as the demon tries to grab him, she rips Young's arm off, leaving him stunned. The demon then stops and looks at her hands, lamenting that she told him to go and ruined everything. She ruined his precious body. The demon becomes furious, asking what he will do about it and saying it's all his fault. So disappointing. The protagonist can't believe what happened and wonders if this is real, if he's really going to die like this. However, he begins to reflect, questioning if he really had what it takes to live. Because if it meant living like that, maybe it was better to die. Then he remembers what his friend said about the people around him getting hurt. He thinks that these dreams, he thinks they're not superstitions. The demon then approaches Young, calling his name, and says that if she can't have him, then she will destroy him. She opens her mouth, trying to devour Young while our boy lies defeated on the ground. However, footsteps start to be heard in the rain. They seem to be dog footsteps. The little dog charges at the demon to protect Young, splitting the demon's face in half, and soon after, her entire body is torn apart. Apparently, the demon was cut by a mysterious person. Young, nearly passing out, sees glimpses of this person but has no idea who is defending him. This person then begins speaking, asking what day it was, and after that wishes our boy a happy birthday. The scene cuts to a mysterious silhouette wishing him a happy birthday and then calling him my descendant, reaching a hand toward him. Young then regains consciousness. He's exhausted, his body completely drenched in sweat. Putting his hand on his face, he says he feels hot, and upon looking at his hand, he realizes he's sweating a lot. Yeah, that's sweat, guys. Don't think anything else, alright? He then starts looking for his phone, and when he finds it, his friends are asking where he is, and even his teacher called. He then gets scared when he sees what time it is, thinking he's screwed, and wonders when he fell asleep yesterday. Saying that, he becomes stunned and remembers what happened last night. Looking at his arm, he sees it's still there, he moves his hand and concludes that he's alive. He then wonders what the hell happened, and if that was really Lee Huisu. Suddenly, he gets startled by something. It's a call from his teacher. The scene then cuts to the school. Young runs through the gate. This reminds me of my old days, huh? And when he arrives, completely exhausted, he wonders if Lee Huisu will come today. He then decides to head to the classroom. Arriving cautiously, he hears Huisu's friends talking. The brown-haired girl asks why Lee Huisu is acting like that, and the other says she has no idea. The brown-haired girl says she wishes Huisu would read her fortune today. Hearing that, our boy mutters that he finds it annoying. He then looks around the room and finally finds her. There she is, Lee Huisu, acting strangely. The protagonist is surprised because she seems fine and wonders if he should ask about yesterday. His friends then arrive, calling him a delinquent for being late and asking why he ignored their messages. The protagonist tries to deny it, but his friend says he worried for nothing because the first thing he did when he arrived was look for his girlfriend. Young says that's not true, and that yesterday he was... But before he could finish, he locks eyes with Lee Huisu. His friend says that instead of going home, he went to see his girlfriend. His friends are confused because Young was hiding. They then ask what he's doing and if he got excited when they exchanged glances. No way he really said that, and start teasing him. He then crawls away and his friend says it's pathetic. After that, in class, Young, head down, thinks that he doesn't remember. He was about to be killed but doesn't remember what happened next, wondering how he got home and what that thing was. If it were a dream, it would make more sense. Looking at the transfer he received yesterday, he wonders if he should ask her about it but concludes it's better not to. His arm seems normal and there's nothing wrong. After class, wait, wasn't there a statue there? Young was talking to the teacher. She asks if anything is wrong, and our boy responds that there isn't. He just overslept. The lady asks if he ate anything at least. He says yes, and she concludes that nothing is wrong then. The bell rings, and Young leaves the teacher's office. Looking at his phone, he thinks he didn't even pay attention in class today. He then leaves the school, and outside, Lee Huisu appears. Seeing her, Young gets startled. She apologizes, saying she didn't mean to scare him. She says she heard he went to the teacher's office, so she decided to wait for him. Young says the bell already rang and asks if following him is her hobby and if she can't act normally. Huisu apologizes again, saying she didn't mean to bother him, so she brings up yesterday's subject, and Young gets scared, thinking there's no one there, then says they should talk somewhere with more people, and that it's not because he's scared, but because she could attack him at any moment. She starts saying no, that at that moment she was possessed by a ghost. Young doesn't believe her, and she says it's a long story. Then he notices something. Huisu says that, first of all, she apologizes for hurting him, and that she's really, really sorry. Young then interrupts her and asks why that's there. She doesn't understand what he's talking about, and he says that statue at the main gate wasn't there before. The statue then prepares itself and begins advancing towards them. They freeze in shock, and Huisu tells Young to run. An unrelenting chase begins. The prota asks what she did this time, and she says she didn't do anything. Young questions her, saying how come, and that she did the same thing to him yesterday. Huisu says she can explain everything and murmurs that it wasn't her, but a ghost called Songask. Look at her little face, poor thing, man. Young then tells her to shut up and run, thinking that this statue is fast and at this rate it will catch up with them. Then he spots a cart full of basketballs and starts pushing them, knocking them over toward the statue. However, things don't go as expected, as the statue cleverly leaps over the balls, surprising our boy and striking a pose upon landing. Young then says they need to find more people, and Huisu starts searching for something in her jacket. She pulls out a bag of beans and throws them at the statue. The statue notices and starts repelling them, throwing them back into Huisu's face. Poor thing, man. Young then grabs her and asks what she's doing. Idiot. Then he sees something. The gate was open. He crosses it along with Huisu and quickly closes it behind them, finally safe. Both are exhausted, and the statue stands in front of them, staring. Young and Huisu are panting, hoping it'll give up. The statue then decides to retreat, and they wonder if it finally gave up. Our boy lets out a sigh of relief, but Huisu notices something. A flag was moved. She warns Young, and the statue was running toward them with the flagpole in hand. The prota says no freaking way it's going to jump and asks if he's crazy. Come on, man, it's a statue. He starts looking for something and finds another cart. The statue then plants the pole into the ground and performs an Olympic leap over the gate, aiming to land on Huisu. However, Young calls out to her and tells her to move out of the way while pushing the cart. The statue, noticing, begins to shed tears and lands on the cart. which was filled with garbage. Feeling that stench, they cover their faces, and seeing it distracted, they decide to get out of there. However, something happens. The statue lunges at them and grabs Young by the neck, lifting him. Huisu, desperate, screams his name. The monster had a serious face, and Young was in a lot of pain. Terrified, Huisu screams for it to stop. As Young is almost out of air, Huisu searches for something in her jacket again and pulls out a Buddhist bracelet. She then calls the statue's attention and throws the bracelet at it. Upon hitting it, an explosion occurs. The statue begins writhing in pain, and Young falls to the ground. Huisu goes to help him and asks if he's okay, and he replies that he's really not. Before the monster could recover, they quickly get out of there. In another location, someone is trying to use a lighter. Young says that if she had that, she should have used it earlier. He stares, watching the smoke rise, and asks if she's smoking. Huisu replies no and says it's incense. Our boy asks what she's doing, and she says it's a simple ritual. She then pulls something from her shorts and tears it, tying it around Prota's wrist, saying that this will protect him for now and that he shouldn't remove it until midnight. He then looks at his wrist, makes a disgusted face, and says, "She's weird," asking if she knew that. "It's still possible, man. That's why you're a virgin. Look at what the guy said to the girl, man." She looks surprised and says she knows it seems that way, but she didn't do anything and asks if they can talk after school. The protagonist says, "No way," sighs, and starts questioning. He says, "Let's say she was possessed by a ghost yesterday and that today is just a coincidence, but the fact is that since he got involved with her, strange things started happening to him." Hesitantly, she says it's not because of her and he thanks her for saving him, but says none of this would have happened if she wasn't there, proposing they stop pretending to know each other. Then he turns and walks away, leaving Huisu downcast. Poor thing, man, but you can understand protagonist's side. Later, Young arrives home. He starts typing the password, and upon doing so, he notices the cloth Huisu had tied. He remembers she said not to remove it until midnight. However, he starts untying it, wondering what she's planning now, and throws it in the trash. Upon entering the house, he turns on the light and gets startled by the dog, almost falling to the ground. But then he remembers and asks the dog if it had been there the whole time. They stare at each other, and Young concludes it must be hungry. He then puts some snacks in the dish, and the dog just sits there staring at the food. After that, he lies down and starts fiddling with his phone. Then someone speaks again, but Young ignores it. The voice speaks again, saying, "Bring me real food." Young doesn't understand, not knowing where the sound is coming from. Once again, the person says, "I'm very hungry, so I'll eat this for now, but next time set the table properly." Our boy then gets up, and the voice asks what he's doing. While Young searches around, he wonders where that voice is coming from. The mysterious person then says, "Ah, you can finally hear me?" And our boy starts looking around. The dog then starts talking, "Here, here," and protagonist stares at it, speechless. Still not believing, he starts examining the dog and searching for some speaker. The little dog, annoyed, asks what he's doing, but Young is stunned and wonders if the dog is really talking, thinking maybe he's going crazy or even has schizophrenia. The mutt then tells him not to deny reality and that he knows it's crazy to show up in front of him like this. The drawer starts shaking and something falls on his head. He then yells, asking what that is, and when he looks, it's a blood-covered shirt. Our boy screams and throws it away, then stands there in shock. The dog then asks if he remembers what happened yesterday. A whirlwind of memories rushes through his mind. After that, he puts his hand on his arm. Terrified, protagonist asks what it is, and the dog asks Young what he is, why he's walking and talking, and if this is the first time it's happened. Our boy doesn't understand anything and questions how the dog can ask him that. The dog then tells Young to call someone other than him. Protagonist asks what he means by someone, and the dog says, like the one who created him, that he needs to understand his family. Young replies that there's no one, and the dog is surprised, asking if he's saying his family is gone. Protagonist then gets up and asks why he's talking about this all of a sudden. The mutt keeps asking if there are other members, but Young only responds that he doesn't know. The dog then calls him a mutt and thinks that he survived thanks to his power and that it doesn't seem like he's in the wrong place, wondering what happened while he was gone. The dog then asks if he won't thank him for saving him yesterday, and Young replies, "Saving me? You? You are a monster then." The dog laughs and asks, "Monster? How can you tell me that since I am your ancestor?" Then Young asks, "My ancestor? A dog is my ancestor, so in reality I am a dog?" The little dog then responds, "You idiot, I am not a dog," but Young answers him, "Have you ever looked in the mirror?" And the ancestor starts explaining, "It is not this dog that is talking, but you can hear my voice." Young then questions him, asking why his mouth is moving, and the dog replies that it is because he is in this body now, and Young responds, "So you are a dog?" The little dog tries to explain that he is not a dog. Young says that if he is not a dog, he is an ancestral ghost. Making the dog furious, our boy then asks, "What do you want from me?" Ancestral ritual, Buddha statue. "I don't have money for that. If you need help, go look for another descendant." The dog then becomes speechless and starts walking back and forth on the bed, and the protagonist keeps staring at him, and then he says, "By the way, that's the bathroom." But the dog stops and asks if his family doesn't serve anymore. Our boy then asks, "What family?" Still talking about this, there is none. After hearing that, the dog says, "Then it's decided," and turns to him saying, "From now on you will help me." Young asks if he will stay here, and the dog replies, "Where else would I go?" Young gets annoyed and starts pushing him, saying, "Ancestor or not, get out." The dog on the floor says, "Even after I saved your life, you bastard." Young says he appreciates it, but asks him to please leave, as he is just a student with no money, while researching schizophrenia symptoms, and concludes by saying that he can't take care of an ancestor. The dog gets angry, however. He notices something at the window. Then he jumps, scaring Young. Young then asks, "What are you doing, you trash eater? Why are you barking now?" The ancestor then says, "There's something out there." Leaving Young confused, the dog then keeps asking, "What did you bring here?" The protagonist then asks, "What does he mean?" And the ancestor jumps on his head and says, "Let's go." Young confused asks, "Where to?" And the dog says, "Outside." Annoyed, our boy asks, "Why?" And he replies that it's right in front, don't move. Not believing it, Young tells him to stop with that, and pulling him off his head says, "Stop it, get out." However, he hears something that leaves him stunned. He freezes. It seems the dog wasn't lying. Seeing that, the ancestor starts pulling him, telling him to get up. Outside, they start to go out. The dog, turning his face, says, "This way." Young finally sees it. It was the statue again. Young then asks why it's here, leaving the dog surprised that he knows what it is. Our boy starts explaining that it's the statue from his school and that suddenly it turned into a monster. The dog retorts, saying that it's not a monster, it's a spirit. The protagonist then asks him, "Spirits? Do spirits look like this?" The dog then calls him an idiot and starts explaining that spirits are entities that arise when a soul inhabits an inanimate object, and their forms vary. There are countless spirits on this earth, and tells him to think of them as part of nature. The statue then puts its hand on the window and finally shows itself. Seeing the look of the statue, he questions if it really is part of nature, and the dog then questions why it's so angry, since spirits are naturally gentle and it's hard to upset them. Young remembers that he had placed a trash cart for the statue to fall, and says that it attacked him first. The statue then punches the window, breaking it. Glass shards fly towards the protagonist, and after that the statue was on the floor. Young is stunned seeing all that destruction. The dog then interrupts him, asking what he's doing, and tells him to get out of there quickly. The statue, recovering, throws a frightening look at him, putting him on alert. The ancestor then steps in front and tells him to go. Our boy, worried, asks what he will do. However, the dog ignores him and tells him to go. Young quickly starts running and takes a last look at the dog, and remembers that he had said he was his ancestor. The dog then starts staring at the statue, then he begins to speak. "Hey bastard, are you kidding me? Do you know who I am?" The dog was emitting a frightening aura, then he opens his mouth. However, in reality, it was just a cute dog barking. The statue then slaps him, throwing him away. "What's that? Hey, don't hit dogs, are you crazy?" He then hits the wall and falls to the ground like crap, and then starts running from the statue. Young then asks what happened and why he was running too. The dog then asks, "Are you still here?" And our boy says that not even 10 seconds passed since he told him to run, and asks if he really saved him yesterday. And the ancestor kind of awkwardly says yes. The protagonist then asks what he can do, and he just tells him to shut up and calls him a brat. Young then calls him a useless mutt, and the ancestor angrily asks if he is mocking him now. In the meantime, the statue grabs Young and lifts him. The protagonist thinks he's caught again. His jacket then starts coming off, and he falls with his face on the ground. The statue looks at the jacket and then starts wearing it. The ancestor tells him to get up quickly. Upon wearing the jacket, the statue lets out a smug smile. At that moment, Young already knows it's going to be bad. Then the statue gets into a running position, and desperately, the protagonist and the dog start running. The statue then charges towards them, but a strange sound begins to be heard, repelling the statue. A girl had placed it in the sound box, leaving the protagonist and the dog surprised. Apparently it was Huisu. She's using the JBL breath. There's no way. Young is surprised to see Huisu there. Apparently she had placed 8 hours of monks talking, and this sound was making the statue catch fire. Young then asks what's happening. Then he notices something. He laments because his jacket was on fire. The guy worried about the jacket. Huisu was nervous, and Young was perplexed. Then the ancestor asks if it was her who did this. However, something happens. The statue begins to lean and little by little starts to recover. The spirit had a furious look, leaving Huisu terrified. She, trembling, starts to retreat. However, the statue charges at her, but someone starts to move. Young steps in front of her and takes a punch. With the impact, both fall to the ground, and Young starts to feel a lot of pain in his ribs. Huisu then gets worried about something. The spirit was going to step on the JBL. It then steps on it, opening a crater in the ground. The statue was furious. It then starts picking up debris from the ground. It then prepares to throw it. Surprising Huisu and Young, it then throws them towards them, and the stones start hitting them. One hits Huisu's back, and the other hits Young's arms, and a bunch of debris starts hitting them. After that, an explosion happens, and after all the smoke passes, both were on the ground. Young, completely shattered, starts calling for Huisu, who doesn't answer him. Then he starts lamenting that this happened. The statue then starts walking towards them, surprising our boy. However, he hears something, then he looks back and asks, "What is Huisu doing?" She then, without strength, says that he has to run and go quickly. The protagonist tries to question her, but then he's surprised by something. The spirit was carrying a car and was right in front of Huisu, who was in complete despair trying to light the incense. Young, without thinking much, instinctively moves and remembers that his ancestor had told them to leave. And while running towards Huisu, he thinks, "Please help me." While shouting his ancestor's name, he then places his body in front of Huisu and concludes that there's no way and that he's going to die today. If you want the next part, leave lots of likes and comments down below.